This is Gemara Yevamos Daf Pei Aleph. All the learning has been generously sponsored as an incredible schos refuah shalema for Chavaleya Bas Saradina. Emir Tashem, the learning in the Darach Habura should bring Chavaleya Bas Saradina an incredible and complete refuah shalema. She should keep on recovering. We should keep on hearing good news that ultimately she has a complete refuah shleima, as well as learning Shvias Chashanim Zochaim Devar Tam Sivas Farachol Shleima Ben Levi Zav Oivik Medeli Shem Ben Chayav Lun Yudis Bas Sima Malka, as well as those Chutz Refuah Shleima Shel Yosef Ben Yefeda Shmuel Ben Tila Naftal Zim Mecheles and Chom Vas Riva Sarah Bluma Vas Mendo Vashevik Shirchan Chaim Moshe Yeshua Ben Malka. B'soich Sha'ar Chayli Yisrael. We're holding in the bottom of Pei Amid Beis. We're on the second to last line in which the Gemara quotes from the Mishnah Asris Shacholatz Yevimtoi Loi Pasla, that a sris that did chalitza, it doesn't passel. However, if this person with this issue that's not able to have children, if he went and he slept with her, says the Mishnah, that it does passel her from the kuna. Explains the Gemara in the bottom line of Peyamid Beis Taima Debala. Clearly in the Mishnah, the reason that it passels her from kuna is because he was together, they had biyah. But it's only, it sounds like, with him, with the sris. But let's say someone else was with her, someone else was mishamish with her. It sounds like from the Mishnah loy. Sounds like from the Mishnah that would not pass her from kuna. So the Gemara is being medayik that it's dafka din, that if the sris is together with this Yevama, then she's puzzled to kuna. But if what happens, someone else is with her, it sounds like there is no problem. As we turn over to Be'alpha and Aleph, says the Gemara, Leima David Yofta de Rav Hamnuna. That din that we just said is at odds with Rav Hamnuna. What does Rav Hamnuna say to Amar? A din that we will see more of coming up in the Masechta. Says Rav Hamnuna, Shomeres Yavam Shezinsav Sula Liyavma. If whilst being waiting for Yibam, a Shomeres Yavam, her husband dies, and as she's waiting for one of the brothers to give her Chalisa, she goes and she is Mizaneh. With whom? With anyone. If she goes and sleeps with someone, what is the halacha? She is Shezinsa Psula Liyama. She's not allowed to do Yivam. As the Tab Rashi points out, like the din of an Isha's Ish, that is Mezana, that is Asr Le'Baila. And Rashi says, V'kivan Dizoinihi Asura Likuna. So this woman is, as the status, says Rav Hamnuna, of a somewhat married woman. She's not married, she's awaiting marriage, she's a Meres Yavam. But that itself is enough that if she goes and is Mezana, what is the halacha? She has the din of a Zaina, and she'll be puzzled to Kuhuna. Explains the Gemara, the way that you read the Gemara, the way the Gemara was medayik, the Mishnah is not accurate. Really, even if she was with someone else, it puzzles to Kuhuna, just like Rav Hamnuna says. Nami. The Mishnah just wrote it congruous to show us the same din by the Yivam, by the Yevama. However, the same din would indeed be true even if it was with someone else. And now the Gemara continues, if we have an island, it's the same, not the same, but really the reverse. This woman who's not able to have children, her husband dies, and what happens? One of the brothers does chalitza with her, says the Mishnah, it does not make her asur tikuna. But if they were slept with her, then she is asur tikuna. Explains the Gemara, time of the Ba'ala. This is not fair with Rav Yehuda. Why? The Rav Yehuda Amar island is Zainahi. Rav Yehuda holds that an island is a woman incapable of having children inherently has the din of a Zaina. Rav Yehuda learns out, this was something that we had about 10 blot ago in Daf Samachal from an Aleph, 20 blot ago, the Rav Yehuda held that the mere fact that she cannot have children, even when she's with her husband, gets you the din of a Zaina. So explains the Gemara, so our Mishnah, which said that it's only if she is a boil someone else that she apostle tikuna, is clearly not like Rabbi Yehuda. Continuing with a new Mishnah, Pei Aleph and Aleph. Says the Mishnah, Sris Chama, the same Sris that we've been discussing the whole time, the Sris that was born this way, that is a Koyin now. So now we have a Sris Chama Koyin, Shenasa, he marries whom? A Bas Yisrael. So he's a Koyin that marries a Bas Yisrael, what is generally the halacha. Anytime a Koyin marries a woman, he's allowed to feed that woman Truma. But what is the halacha if he's a Sris Chama, if he's unable to have children? Says the Mishnah, Machila B'Truma. He still can let her eat Truma. Rav Yisrael Shimon Ayman Dragonis. On a similar issue, similar in the inability to have children, and a dragon is one who's a suffix zachar, suffix nikeva. We're not sure if he's a man or a woman. Koyin, and he's a koyin shenasa bas Yisrael, and he marries a Jewish girl, a regular Yisrael. Machila b'tshuma, he can feed her chuma. Rav Yehuda Omer, din number 3. So din number 1 was a sris. Din number 2 was an androgen. It says Rav Yehuda, a person that they're Makam of the Aver is covered over. Shenikra, they cut it open, they did perform surgery. V'nimsa zachar. And now it's clear that we see that there is an Aver. We see that he is a man. Still, says Rabbi Yehuda, lo yachlas neshu ksris. He still cannot do chalitza, piggybacking off of the previous Mishnayis, because he has the status of a sris. Can't have children. And din number 4 of the Mishnah, androgynous. What is the status of an androgynous? We know it's a suffix zachar, suffix nekeva. So what's the halacha? Does he have a din, or she have a din of a man and is allowed to marry a woman? Or does he have a din of a woman and can marry a man? Says the Mishnah, androgynous noisei. An androgynous is able to marry a man, avoloi nisa, but cannot be married to a man. Meaning, avoloi nisa, androgynous noisei. I read that incorrectly. One more time. Androgynous noisei, an androgynous can marry a woman. That's where I read incorrectly. Meaning he has a din of a man. He can marry a woman. It cannot be married to a woman. And we'll see what that means in the Gemara tomorrow. So says the Gemara Pshita, the Mishnah began. And the Mishnah said, a Sris Chama Koyin that marries Yisrael feeds her Truma. Says the Gemara, of course, they're married. Explains the Gemara, the Havamina was Moilin Machal, Shena Moilin Einay Machal. Maybe the din of feeding Truma is intrinsically tied with the din of having children. And perhaps because this Sris Chama cannot have children, therefore the din should be that you cannot feed her. Truma, says the Mishnah, Kamash Malhan, even though you cannot have children, you're still able to feed Chuma. Continues the Gemara of Yisrael Shimon androgynous for about 15 lines down at the end of the 2 dots. Eraser of Shimon taught us that an androgynous kohen can feed his wife Chuma. Amar Reish Lakish. And now we're going to have a classical Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish Gemara. Says Reish Lakish, Machilo bi Chuma. Vein machil b'chaz v'sheik. Rav Yochanan Amar, am machil b'chaz v'sheik. So Machlokes Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish, what is this androgynous allowed to feed his wife? It is the dafka, is it specific a din about Truma, or is it even chaz v'shaik, even other kachim kalim? Explains the Gemara. Explains the Gemara, Ula Reish Lakish, according to Reish Lakish, that you're not allowed to feed kachim kalim of chaz v'shaik. Ma'ishna chaz v'shaik. Why can he, the androgynous, not feed his wife chaz v'shaik? Seemingly the reason is daraisa. Because there's a din of a daraisa. Truma nami daraisa. Ask the Gemara, I don't understand. Truma as well as a din of a daraisa. It's an iser daraisa for a non-koyin to eat truma. So explains the Gemara, no. The reason why the androgynous is allowed to feed truma, because we're talking bizman hazeh, that it's only a din derabanan. And therefore the Isser is only an Isser derabanan, and therefore the androgynous is allowed to feed his wife. Ask the Gemara, but during the time of the Beis HaMikdash, when Truma is a deraisa, what is halacha according to Reish Lakish? Seemingly the halacha is that the androgynous kohen cannot feed his wife. So ask the Gemara a classical question. Aditani, from the fact that Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish debated and argued and said, Ein machilin b'chazav v'shaik. What was the machlekes? Do they only feed truma, or could they, yes, feed chazav v'shaik kachim kalim? But says the Gemara, I don't understand. Bisman shabeis hamikdash kayom truma din daraisa. So live like why do they not argue about truma itself? And they should say, when Reish Lakish would say, you could feed his bit truma derabanan. So why are they arguing about chazav v'shaik? Why don't they argue about truma de'oraisa? Explains the Gemara, hachinami kamar. It's true. You're right. Good suggestion. Because that is indeed what Reish Lakish holds. He holds that there is this difference within truma b'zman hazeh and truma de'oraisa. But you have to read a little bit deeper into the words. When the Mishnah said kishuma achila, when the Mishnah said that he's allowed to feed truma, ma'achilo b'truma b'zman hazeh derabanan, it meant you could only feed truma nowadays. But you're not allowed to feed at the time of chazav v'shaik. What does it mean at the time of chazav v'shaik? That refers to the Beis HaMikdash. Meaning, when Reish Lakish came along and Reish Lakish started the Gemara and said, you can feed truma, don't feed chazav v'shaik. What was Reish Lakish telling me? Not that you could feed truma and not feed kachim kalim. And then you could feed at a time that there's only truma, and not at a time that there is chazav v'shaik. Beis HaMikdash. Beautiful. Says the Gemara of Truma derabanan. Excuse me. Va'afilu vein machil bizman chazav v'shaik. Meaning when there is a Beis HaMikdash. Va'afilu b'truma derabanan. Even truma derabanan. Why? So Reish Lakish is indeed differentiating between Bizman Hazeh and Bizman Beis HaMikdash. Rav Yochanan, and Rav Yochanan who argues, and what did Rav Yochanan say? Rav Yochanan said that you're allowed to feed kachim kalim, even allowed to feed chazeh v'shaik. Amar lei Rav Yochanan Reish Lakish. Rav Yochanan says to Reish Lakish, Mi savris truma b'zman hazeh derabanan. Reish Lakish, do you really hold that truma b'zman hazeh is only a din derabanan, like you just said? Amar li Reish Lakish responds, indeed that is what I hold. And now, from Reish Lakish's answer right here is going to really segue us into a completely new sugya. Says Reish Lakish, you know where I hold truma derabanan? Shani shoyneh, because I learn igul bi'igulim. If I have a case of a cake of figs, we have a cake pressed together with figs. Oila, what is the halacha? It is batal. Oila is a word that means it's batal one or the other. So if I have truma figs that are mixed together with other figs, they are batal. Says Reish Lakish, but from that din I know it's a din derabanan, because if it was a din deraisa, it wouldn't be batal. Amar lei, Rav Yochanan responds, what do you mean? But I hold trumas deraisa, and yet I hold what? Chaticha b'chaticha is oile. That if I have one piece of a tar mixed together with another piece of tamei, what's the halacha? It's still oil, it's still batal. So there, what's the reason? Says Rav Yochanan must be has nothing to do with whether it's a deraisa or derabanan. The din of bittul, the din of nullification, is not whether deraisa derabanan, but rather explains Rav Yochanan 4 lines from the bottom. Misavris kol shedarka limanu sheninu. A fundamental difference when we say bittul. Something which is a davar shabiminion, something which is an item which is counted, then we do not say bittul. But the question is, what determines something which is counted? Is it something that is only and exclusively counted? It's only sold by piece? Or is it something that's also counted? So Rav Yochanan says, I hold the only time something has the chashiva, something has the importance of a davar shebiminion, and therefore will not be batal, is only as shedar koili if it's 100% exclusively counted. But if there is an item that is yes counted, but it's also sold in estimation, it's also sold in bulk, then says Rav Yochanan, kol shedar koili will yes be batal. So this machlokes Reish Lakish and Rav Yochanan with regard to the the cake of figs versus the pieces and pieces, it's not a machlokes whether true is derabanan or deraisa. Rather, it's a machlokes fundamentally. When do we say bittul? Reish Lakish allows the figs to be batal because Reish Lakish says as long as something is at times counted, then it gets a din of a chashivas, and therefore it will only be, and therefore as the din of a chashivas it will not be batal. The only time it will be batal if something is not that way. Whereas Rav Yochanan says no, only if it's exclusively counted as a davar shebeminyan, that's when it will not be batal. And now the Gemara really explains. I just said a lot, a mouthful. The Gemara is going to explain that point right now. Mai says the Gemara, what is this Mishnah that is a machlokes Rav Yochanan Reish Lakish with regard to bittul? 2 lines to the bottom of the Tanan, as we learned in a Mishnah, Mishay Chavile Tilson, someone has a bundle of fenu Greek, Shal Kalaya Karem of Kalayim of the vineyard, Yidliku, what's the halacha? It's Kalayim, you have to burn it. Nizarvu ba'achiris. But let's say this bundle became mixed with other bundles. What's the halacha as we turn over to Be'al from a base? Kulan Yidliku, Divrei Rameir, says Rameir, they all have to be burnt. Why? Look at the top. Rashi says because it's not bottle. What's the reason? Because Rameir says kol shedarka limanis. Anything which is at times counted, even though it's not exclusively counted, says Rameir, if at times it's counted, then what? Then it's chashuv, and then it's not bottle. You got to burn it all. No. Yalu bechanu masayim. It's bottle 1 in 200. Why? Because the Chachamim argue, and the Chachamim say only if it's exclusively counted, it's not batal. This is not exclusively counted, therefore it will be batal. And explains the Gemara, if at times it's counted, it's chashiv, and that's when it's not batal. If at times it is at times counted, then Mikadish, then the entire mixture is going to have to be burnt. Why is the entire mixture going to have to be burnt? Because it's not bottle. Chamer Meina Mikadish, says the Chachamim, it's only going to be Pasal, it's only going to be Aser, Ella Shisha Dvarim Bilvad, Rav Akiva Mer Shiva, only 6 or 7 different specific entities. Eluain, what are these items that the Chachamim are saying that are going to make everything Pasal? Agoizei Tebach, Perech Nuts, Virimayni Baden pomegranates, Chaviyos, Tumais, sealed casks of wine. And these are specific cases in which there is a Chashivos. V'chilfei Tradin, beet stalks, V'kolchei Kurov, and cabbage stalks, Udelas, Yevanis, and Greek gourd. Rav Akiva Maisav Avki Karoi Shalabal Abayis, loaves of Abal Abayis, Aruyun Arla, Klaya Karen. And concludes the segment of the Bryce that those who's subject to Arla are going to make the whole mixture Arla. So that's Karen, Klaya Karen, Klayim will make the whole thing Klayim. So now, says the Gemara, this machlokes Rameir and the Chachamim is our machlokes. Rav Yochanan Reish Lakish, Rav Yochanan Savar Shadar Kalimano Shaninu, says Rav Yochanan only something which is exclusively counted. That's when it's chashiv. That's when it's not bottle. Reish Lakish Savar no, because Shadar Kalimano Shaninu will not be bottle. Says the Gemara. My chaticha. What is the case of chaticha? This was the case which Rav Yochanan said, the case of the fakes. My chaticha, the tani chaticha shachatas tamesh and zarvu b'meya b'ma chaticha shachatas ta'ira. We have 2 types of chatas tamei and tar. They got mixed together. V'chein brusa shalach ma'apodim, or similarly a piece of the lech ma'apodim, the tamei that was tamesh and zarvu b'meya brusa shalach ma'apodim ta'iris. They got mixed with 100 pieces of tar lech ma'apodim. Ta'ala. What is the halacha in these cases? It is batal. Rav Yehuda no, like that, let's not bottle. Avol chaticha shel chatas ta'irish and zarva b'meich the meir chaticha shel chulin ta'iris. They're both tar. V'chay prus shel lechem aponim ta'iris and zarva meir prus shel chulin ta'iris. They're both tar. Divrei hakol leisal. Everyone knows they are not bottle. So says the Gemara Katani Mios. What was the first case of this brayso? The first case was that it is tala. It is bottle. Katani Mios reisha tala. So what do we see in the reisha? That it's bottle. If you look at the last Rashi, Rashi speaks out kasha l'reish lakish. They said kasha on reish lakish because we see in this brayso that that it's going to be batal. And yet, what does Reish Lakish hold? Reish Lakish holds that once it's at times counted, then it will not be batal, then it is chashiv. But we see over here that even though at times it is counted, it's still chashiv, and it's not going, and it's going to be batal. So this brisa seemingly is a right to Rav Yochanan Kasha on Reish Lakish. The reason why Reish Lakish is going to explain the reason why in this case it's going to be batal. The reason is because it is dissolved, because the pieces are pushed together. It's not each entity onto its own. Ihachi asks the Gemara, Taima de Rav Yehuda, if what you're saying is correct, my Taima de Rav Yehuda. What is the reason for Rav Yehuda? Rav Yehuda in the Seif of the Brisa said what? Said lo yisal, it's not batal. But if you're telling me it's nimuach, it's dissolved, everything is pushed together. So why did Rav Yehuda say it's not batal? Turning over to Pei Beis Amud Aleph. Answers the Gemara, Rav Yehuda l'taimei damar min b'minai lai batal. Rav Yehuda holds a klal. Anytime you have two like items, even though it's nimuach, even though the two items maybe are pushed and shoved together, still Rav Yehuda, what's the story? It's not going to be batal. But I asked the Gemara, what's the obvious implication of the Brisa? I know we're on the next Amud, but let's go for a drop longer. Avli loy limuach. If it was not dissolved, what's the obvious implication of the Brisa? According to Reish Lakish, lo yisal, it will not be batal. What did the Seifa say? The Seifa came along and said a case of tar chatos with tar chulin mixed together, and lo yisal was not batal. Asked the Gemara, why don't we differentiate within the din itself? That we should say in the Reish of Amedvar Mamurim it's batal b'sheni muach when it's dissolved. Avaloi nimucha lo yisale loi. So ask the Gemara, why did the Seifa have to come along to a new case of tar with tar? Why didn't the Seifa just continue along the same train of thought of nimuach and loy nimuach, dissolved, it will yes be batal, not dissolved, it will not be batal? Explains the Gemara, tahira b'tahira is adiflei. The Gemara was happier to explain the case of tar with tar to teach us that chiddush. And now we're going to stop over here, but what's the Gemara going to do next? The Gemara is going to ask, okay, according to Reish Lakish, how does he differentiate between these two cases in the Brisa, whether it is batal or not? And we'll pick up from Rav Shisha Breder Ravidi's answer in the next shiur.